So, put a poll on my story the other day about night eating disorders and did people want me to do a video on them. And I actually did a video yesterday, and then I found another research report which I'll share the link to. So I decided to redo it because night eating is something that I've suffered from when I've been going through really stressful times in my life. It's happened on like 2 separate occasions, which is why when I read just sit. Which is why when I read the first report, I was like, shit, like that's actually a thing. It's actually something that's happened to me before. And it's not very commonly discussed or known about, and some people have suffered with it and aren't sure why. Some people might be suffering with it and not talking about it because they're quite embarrassed by it. So obviously I thought if I spoke about it and explained what I'd experienced and then explained what I've learned over the last few days, or I've been looking into it more, it might help people. So I wrote some notes down, always professional. But basically, right, on your bed, okay, stay there. I've got an audience, I don't know if you can actually see them from the camera view, but let's watch me, so it's cute. Okay, so there's 2 main types of issues, well, I don't know how you describe them, conditions, we'll say. So the first one is night eating syndrome. Now, this is where people are conscious that they're eating, and it's classed as an eating disorder. So it's primarily an eating disorder, and they remember it happening. It distresses them that they've done it, so they're quite embarrassed and ashamed and feel guilty about their behaviour. Again, this is going to be generalised, but they're quite often obese or overweight. There isn't much research into it, but we do know that 40 to 50% of people that suffer with bulimia have night eating syndrome. They quite often develop a belief that food will help them sleep, so it can be related to sleep issues as well. Now, for it to class as a diagnosis of night eating syndrome, you have to eat at least 25% of food in the night. So at least 25% in the night for at least a period of 3 months, and it has to happen twice a week for 3 months. So there's some quite specific criteria, and I'm guessing that they are looking into this more as more of these cases come up. And we know that criteria and diagnoses and percentages and how often things go on can be, you know, ever adapted and changeable as you go through different periods of time in your life. So I think if people are wanting help with it, but they're unsure if they qualify, whatever that means, then obviously it's just something you should go to GP about. Okay, so that's night eating syndrome. I didn't suffer with that, but I suffered with something called sleep-related... hang on. Yeah, it's called sleep-related eating disorder. Sorry, I couldn't remember writing them. Sleep-related eating disorder. Now, this is primarily a sleep disorder, and how it happens and the fact that you get up in the night and eat is very similar to night eating syndrome. The difference being with sleep-related eating disorder, which is the one I suffered from, you're unaware that you're eating, so you're eating in your sleep. So it's like sleep eating, and you wake up in the morning and you can taste food in your mouth, or you go into the kitchen and there's like mess everywhere and boxes pulled out of cupboards. You don't have memory of doing it, and again, it's quite alarming to realise that you've got up in the night and eaten. So the times that it happened to me, I had to move back in with my mum and dad a few years ago, after I left my ex-partner, and I didn't have a great relationship with my mum, so it was very stressful, and I was only there for a few months, but on 3 occasions my dad said to me, oh, did you make some like cereal late last night? I was like, no. And he was like, well, there was was like a box of cereal and a bowl used and stuff pulled out of the cupboard and bits of cereal everywhere, and we worked out that it must have been me that had done it. And then Ollie, one night found me in the kitchen eating peanut butter out of the jar, and that was at a time when I was going through a really stressful time in my old job, and I was deciding whether to transition into self-employed and becoming a coach full-time. So 2 stressful periods in my life, and I've suffered from sleep-related eating disorder. Now, the way that it's diagnosed and the different patterns that you form with each one will help with how each was treated, should it be a condition that goes on long term and you feel you need to seek help. Again, there's not much research out there, but let me see how long this has been going. Oh yeah, fine. But with both the conditions, the biggest way that you can help yourself if you feel that you're struggling or developing these behaviours is to not have a restrictive diet in the day. So have a diet that's full of all the different macronutrients, micronutrients, loads of different vitamins and different food sources so you don't feel restricted. Make sure you've got a really good amount of healthy fats in there, because they do slow the digestion down of carbs and proteins. They keep you full for longer, and fats are really essential for your hormone health. So with both of them, there's some research coming out that it's an imbalance in your hormones that can link in with it all and can make them worse. Keeping stress minimal is a good way to prevent issues like this. And with the first one, with it being linked to lack of sleep, if you can get a really good sleep routine, and make sure that you are getting enough sleep and really prioritising rest and recovery, then the chance of you not being able to sleep and feeling like food will help you sleep is more likely. Because with the first one, that is basically, well, it's kind of binge eating at night, the first one. If you've eaten enough during the day and you are getting to bed in good time, so you're relaxed, you're not stressed, you're not panicking about not being able to sleep, you're not going to have that compulsion to overeat, which you've connected to helping you sleep better. So keeping stress minimal, having a good bedtime routine, having a really varied diet. If you were on a weight loss diet and these behaviours develop, come off that diet, get out of the deficit, take your food back up to maintenance, even go into a little bit of a surplus. With both of them, it's said that exercising and being active is good, because that obviously releases endorphins, makes you feel good about yourself, makes you feel your body. You're going to feel better and healthier for taking part in some physical activity, so that could be a good one. If you have a coach or someone that's done you a diet plan, I would just be completely honest with them about what's happening so that they can help support you through it, because it isn't a behaviour that you want to carry on or get any worse. That's the important thing. Consuming food at night, whether it's one condition or the other, whether you're aware of it or not, you are going to associate some guilt or feelings that you would have rather not eaten that food at night because you're not going to enjoy it, especially when you're half asleep. And food isn't always about enjoyment. We do need to fuel our bodies, but there's a lot of research about the types of food. That was what I was finding most of the stuff on. The types of food that people will eat during these periods are your higher calorie foods that they would maybe not pick during the day, which is where it links into binge eating and bulimia as well. And there's some studies that people that eat at night then restrict during the day and compensate with exercise, which obviously we really don't want to be happening. That's not a healthy relationship with food. It's not a healthy relationship with your body or exercise. So what I would say, if you're struggling, there's a little bit online, but not too much. But be honest with a coach or anyone that's done you a diet plan, as well as being honest with friends and family. So if you live with a partner or if you live with a family, letting them know what's going on, so they can help support you. Making sure you have a full varied diet during the day. You're not restricted, you're not in a deficit, you're including foods you enjoy, you're including treats regularly. Maybe try having a good nice snack, a good size snack before bed. Something that I do with my clients is usually a bowl of oats or a yogurt bowl with berries and dark chocolate and peanut butter, or some low calorie ice cream. So you're having something a little bit sweet and indulgent before you go to sleep. I do find that really does help with people then eating a good variety healthy diet during the day. What else? I think that's it. But again, like with all the stuff I talk about, just making these things more normal to discuss will mean that if anyone is suffering, obviously you can always reach out and speak to me. Like I said, there isn't much out there as far as research, but I will keep sharing stuff that I find, and it's something that I'm going to look into more. I'm going to do more research and talk about it more, because I think a lot of people probably suffer from it and maybe not realise, or maybe feel too ashamed or embarrassed. And I have dealt with clients that have had similar behaviours, but none that I would say is diagnosable. So yeah, any questions, any concerns, then drop me a message. But like I said, if you are severely struggling with anything I discuss, or it leads you to realise that behaviour has got out of control, then you do need to be going to see a GP.